Hello there. On the previous videos, we created a migration file in order to create the products table on the database, and we mapped the products from the database on our Elixir code through something called schema. And then we also created a function called changeset, which is responsible for validating the data before we insert it. But we never did the insertion on the database. We still haven't queried the database. Are we going to do that now? Yes, finally. So I'm going to open up the terminal. How do we interact with the database in Elixir? You need to call a module that is inside your product called Repo. And Repo is inside lib, and then on our case, shop. So we have shop.repo, and as you can see, we're using Ecto.Repo and then configuring it to use the SQLite adapter. And of course, if you're using Postgres, then the adapter here would be different. But this is the main module for interacting with the database. So we can type, as an example, shop.repo. And what can I do here? Let's query all the products first. We have a function inside this repo module called all. And the easiest way of calling it is by passing the schema that you want to query. So on our case is shop.product, correct? And as you can see, we get an empty list back because we did not insert anything on the database. And you might be thinking now, okay, so every time that I want to interact with the database, I need to type shop.repo. And every time that I want to query the product, I need to type shop.product. Yes, but there's an easier way. You can type alias shop.repo and then alias shop.product. This way you can type repo.all and then pass product. This is much better. But if I close this iex session and I create another one, then we're going to lose this alias. So is there a way of saving this alias for all the iex sessions? Yes, there is. So we're going to go back to the root of our project. We're going to create a new file called .iex.exs. This file is going to run before your iex session. So here you can paste all your aliases and imports. So I'm gonna type alias shop dot, and then I'm gonna import repo and product. Okay, so if I close this iex and I run again, and I try to do repo.all on product, it still works. So this file is extremely handy. All right, we got all the products, repo.all. How can we insert a product? Well, as you might imagine, the name of the function is insert. So you can type repo.insert. And what should we pass here? You can either pass a struct, and then this way you're not going to validate anything. You're not going to call the changeset or anything. Or you can pass a changeset. So first, let me create a struct. I'm going to say struct is equal to, actually, product is equal to, I'm going to create a product manually. So product, and then here, if I remember correctly, we have 3 fields, right? We need a slug, name, and console. So let me push this down. We need a name. I'm gonna say Overwatch 2. Yes, I'm a Blizzard fanboy. Unfortunately, I'm not proud of this. We need a slug, and because we're not calling the changeset, we need to generate the slug manually, because on the changeset, we generate the slug automatically. But here we have to do it manually. So Overwatch -2, this is the slug. And then I need a console, And then the console is supposed to be an atom. So here I'm gonna say that Overwatch is a PC exclusive. So this is just a struct. I did not talk to the database yet. So we have this product variable, and I want to insert this struct on the database. So it's repo dot insert, and then we pass the struct product. Apparently this worked because the result of our query is a tuple where the first element of the tuple is okay, meaning that everything worked. And then the second element of the tuple is the instance that we created on the database. So in theory, if I run repo.all on the product, I should get a list of one item back. Awesome. We got Overwatch 2 with the ID of 3. This auto increments, but I already created a couple of instances before this video, so we lost the ID 1 and 2. We're starting from 3. Okay, let me insert again, but this time I want to call the changeset because I want to validate the data before I insert on the database. So I can do repo.insert on a changeset, and I'm actually going to create a variable. So I'm going to say changeset is equal to product.changeset. Now remember, the first argument is the product struct product followed by a map of attributes that we want to insert on the database. Here, the only thing that is required is name and console. So I'm gonna say name is Diablo 4, and then the console will be Xbox. And if I remember correctly, I can use a string here for the console, and then the change set will convert it to an atom. Okay, yeah, we have a change set back. Is it valid? Yep. So we should be able to call repo.insert using this change set. Okay, it worked. And what happens if I pass a change set that is invalid? So if I create the change set variable again, but this time I want to not pass the console, which is mandatory, and then the game will be GTA. As you can see, the change set is invalid. So if I try to run again repo insert on this new change set variable, instead of getting an OK and the instance on the database, I get an error and the change set back because it is not valid. So the best way of running repo.insert, as you might imagine, is by calling the change set first. And then we have lots and lots of functions to call on the repo, and I'm gonna link this on the description of this video, but we have a very useful cheat sheet on the Ecto documentation where you can see all the queries that you can do. So here you can fetch by the ID, you can fetch by another field like the title, you can query the last record, the first record, you can do more complex queries, which we're going to talk about right now. You can insert a record. So there are infinite functions that you can call, and I'm not going to be able to cover all of them on this video, so I highly recommend you to take a read at this cheat sheet. All right. So what if I want to do a more complex query? Like, I know how to query all the products, but what if I want to select a specific field or I want to run a where clause? For this, we need to import a couple of macros from Ecto, and they're coming from import Ecto.Query. So every time you want to do a complex query using Ecto, you need to import this module right here. So now, if I close this iex, I run once again, so I have the Ecto.Query. Now the query is going to be more complex and I want to save it on a variable. So I'm going to say query is equal to, I want to say from, and this from is a macro coming from Ecto.Query. And the convention is that you type a single letter to represent your instance on the database. So here it would be from P in product. But you can name this anything you want. So if you want to be more explicit, you can simply type from product in product. But I'm going to keep the convention of saying from P in product, followed by what I want to do. So here I want to select. I just want to grab the p.slug, for example. That's my query. And then instead of saying repo.all and passing the product module, I'm going to pass my query. And there you go. And then I can do whatever I want here, like selecting the p.id, then querying again. Now we have the ID of 4 and 3. And if I want to run, for example, a where clause, so I want to select p.slug where the console is equal to PC. So I'm going to say where console is equal to, and here we want to pass a custom value. And in order to do that, using the Ecto.Query macros, you need to interpolate this variable. And to do that, you need to use this, and then followed by the value that you want to interpolate. So I'm going to say that console is equal to PC. This is my query for tempting. What did I do wrong? Select where console. And sorry, I forgot to type p.console. So I want to select the slug from the product where the console from the product is equal to PC. This is the new query. I'm gonna type repo.all. So I got Overwatch 2. If I change my where clause to Xbox, and then I call repo.all again, there you go, we have Diablo 4. Nice. So I think we already know Ecto enough in order to change our product controller. Because if you go back to our product controller, we are using this mock variable, right? And we want to query the database directly. So for now, I'm going to remove this. And remember, if you want to talk to the database, you need to, first of all, run an alias. I'm going to say shop. I want repo and then product. And I also, actually, I don't need the Ecto.Query for now. So, okay. Now on the index page, we're listing all the products, right? So instead of using this mock variable, I want to query the database. I'm going to say products is equal to repo.all. And I just want to grab all the products, right? We pass the struct here, nice. And then I'm going to remove this mock variable, nice. Now, what about the details page? On this page, I want to query by the ID and then return this product. So instead of finding on this mock variable, I'm gonna say repo.get. And if you want to get by the ID, you can just use get. Or if you want to get from another field on the database, you can say get by, for example. But I want to use get, where the first variable is the struct followed by the ID that we have. Okay, this should be enough. The server is running. So if I go back to Google Chrome, I open up localhost on port 4000. Okay, I need to go to /products. We have two games, Overwatch and Diablo 2. We know that the ID of Overwatch is 3, I think, and Diablo is the ID of 4. So let me try that on the URL. So products 3, we have Overwatch 2, and then products 4, we have Diablo 4. Very nice. So this is all I wanted to show today about Ecto and querying Ecto. Now, if you are an experienced Phoenix and Elixir developer, you might be cringing right now and thinking, hey, Daniel, please don't call the database directly on a controller, because this mixture of business logic and the view layer shouldn't happen. Now, don't worry, we're going to talk about Phoenix contexts on the next video. So for simplicity purposes, I am going to query Ecto directly on a controller, but just be aware that this is not ideal. And on the next video, we're going to refactor that. Okay, but to finish this video, I want to do some small refactors. The first one is that I don't like getting the ID from the URL. Like, we have the slug. Instead of saying products/4, I just want to say products/Diablo4, for example, and this should work. So I'm gonna say Diablo4. And yeah, we got a database error because we couldn't find the value of Diablo4 in our where clause. So let's change that. Instead of grabbing the ID from the URL, I want to grab the slug. And then I'm gonna bind this to the slug variable. And then instead of running repo.get, I wanna say get by, and I wanna get by the slug. So we want to grab by the slug, and we also need to change the router, because on the router, I'm expecting an ID, but now I'm expecting a slug. So I'm gonna replace that by slug. This should be enough to work. If I go back, let me refresh. Okay, game Diablo4, we found that. Let me go back and type Overwatch 2. There we go, game Overwatch 2. Now, another thing that I want to refactor is that it's pretty annoying to type the name manually on the URL. Like, I want to use a link. I want to go back to the listing and click here, right? So let me close this and this. I want to go to the index page from the products. And this is where we're listing all the products. We have this custom product component. Let's open that up. It's inside product HTML. Where is it? There we go. This is our simple product. And now instead of passing the product name, I want to pass the entire product, because this way we can grab the slug or ID, whatever we want, right? So I'm gonna say, instead of name, I'm gonna say that the prop I'm expecting is product. The type of this product is the product struct, and I want to alias that. So we're expecting a product struct. It is required. And now instead of saying name, I want to say product.name. Okay, and now instead of passing name as the prop, I am passing product. So I'm gonna do it like this. This should be able to work. Okay, it's still working. And now the final refactor that I want to do is, instead of just rendering a p tag, I want to render a link. So I'm gonna say, and the link is a custom component from core components, if I'm not mistaken. And since this is coming from core components, I can just type dot link. And then the link, let me close that tag. Inside this link, we're gonna say the product name. So I'm gonna grab this, paste here. I'm gonna delete this p tag. And then inside here, I need to pass an href, right? Now, this is a URL, right? So we can use the verified routes. So I'm gonna say verified routes. I want to go to /products / and here I want to grab the slug from the product. So at product.slug. This should be able to work. Let me go back. Yeah, now the HTML is a bit odd. Let me change the class. This will be display block from Tailwind. me go back. Okay. So Overwatch 2, if I click on it, okay, I finally found the bug. If we go back to the show page, we are also using the product component on this page. And now we no longer expect the name, we're expecting the product directly. So if I do this, go back. Okay, now we can see that we have Diablo 4. If I go to product listing, we have, okay, this is working. And I think I just want to show something else here because this is very boring. I have a link. Let me go back to the show page. I want to show the product. And then I think I also want to show the ID just to show something else on the page. I'm going to say ID will be at product.id. Go back. ID3. Oh, I see. Since we're using the same component here on the details page, that means that I also have a link here, and this is not ideal. So I'm just going to remove this product component, and I am going to say, instead, I'm just going to use a p tag, to be honest. So product.name, because I don't want to have a link here. So ID, and then name. I think this is more clear. So ID3, name Overwatch 2. If I go back to the product listing, we have Overwatch, Diablo. If I click here, there we go. Nice. And this is it for today. Just a couple of refactors at the end and a super quick way of interacting with the database. So if we go back to the product controller, now we're finally able to get all the products from the database, not a mock variable, and get by the slug. In the future videos, we're going to build more complex queries, but this is it for now. Thanks for watching. See you next time.